The NBA All-Star Game is on life support, and it doesn't seem like the players care at all. If scoring points, though, is the measuring stick for care level, then actually we've reached an all-time high. Competitiveness in the return to the East versus West format was nowhere to be found, but trays and buckets were. The East became the first team to score 200. They beat the West 211 to 186 for a team total of 397, an All-Star Game record. 168 threes were chucked up. All time, when you look at the most points scored in the All-Star Game, 2 of the top 4 came from last night. The West had 186, the East with 211, sitting in spots 1 and 4 in the scoring galore affair we had in Indy. Our NBA expert Sam Quinn joining us now. And Sam, we heard Anthony Edwards say, quote, "I don't think nobody wants to come here and compete," end quote. LeBron said he doesn't know how to make the game more competitive. For me, just watching it, it was very boring last night. No reason to care at all. How do you view all of this?
Yeah, it was a mess. It was almost unwatchable. It's been like that for a few years now. And there are a couple of things the league could try, but ultimately it doesn't matter if the players aren't going to invest, right? And I understand it from their perspective. They're trying to make sure that they're not getting hurt. They don't want to get hurt in an exhibition game that's going to change their team's outlook for the season. And quietly, All-Star Weekend, it's a lot busier than just what happens on the court. These guys are running around to sponsor meetings and events. They're, for several days, they're just constantly being bombarded and they're busy. I understand why players don't put effort in. That said, the league has to do something because this is supposed to be the marquee event of the regular season. Football season just ended. We just had the Super Bowl a week ago. This is the NBA's chance to gain market share, to get fans invested in the sport for the stretch run. And last night was a failure in that respect.
So you look at it, if you're Adam Silver, who talked before the game about how he thought the game would be more competitive. Larry Bird said basically the same exact thing. Clearly that failed. Now you look at it with a blank slate situation. If you're Adam Silver, if you're the NBA, how do you fix the All-Star Game as is right now?
Yeah, I think the next obvious step would be to reformat the rosters so that you have Team USA playing against a team of international All-Stars. Now, there are some flaws that you're going to have to work through to make that work. Obviously, we might not have an exact even split of 12 American All-Stars and 12 foreign All-Stars. We might have to find a way to honor the right players while also balancing the rosters. But if you're trying to find a way to get players invested, all I'm going to say is go watch the Olympics, go watch the World Cup. Players take pride in suiting up for Team USA. That's why so many stars are going to play in the Olympics in Paris this summer. You go watch any foreign team in one of those competitions playing against Team USA, they take it seriously. That's a way that we could get players to invest in this game. Maybe we could build rivalries this way. We'd have stable rosters. We could have rivalries that take place in the Olympics and in the World Cup, carry over into All-Star games. I think that's the clear next step. We're getting to a point where we have enough foreign All-Stars now that this could be feasible. I would imagine that's something that the league is going to look into in the near future because the East versus West format just doesn't work anymore. Players don't take pride in their conference. Frankly, so many of them move from one conference to the other so often that, it's not like Michael Jordan spending his entire career in the East and playing against the same West All-Stars every year. Right? There's no rivalry because the rosters change every year.
Yeah, it was crazy enough that Damian Lillard got his first start of his career in the All-Star Game now after he moves from the Western Conference to the Eastern Conference. Of course, the game last night, not the only event of All-Star Weekend. You had the three-point contest that Dame won, the slam dunk contest that gave us Mac McClung becoming a back-to-back champion, the Rising Stars, a lot of holistic events. What grade do you give the entire weekend?
I'd give it a D. The game was a mess. We've been over that. The dunk contest, in my opinion, only had one really original dunk. That was Mac McClung releasing the ball and then catching it and dunking it again. The skills contest was way too long. The one really exciting event and the one thing that really redeemed the weekend was Steph versus Sabrina. It was the first event in recent All-Star memory that felt like it was trying something new. There was real novelty to it. And it opens a lot of doors for future events. We've heard a lot of clamoring for Caitlin Clark. Maybe next year the three-point contest is half NBA, half WNBA. Maybe we could make this a team event. We're going to be in San Francisco next year for All-Star Weekend. Maybe Steph and Clay, the Splash Brothers, form a team and they compete with Sabrina and Caitlin Clark. There are just a lot of interesting things you can do now that you've opened that door. That was by far the most fun event of the weekend. It's the only thing that saved the weekend from an F for me because everything else was just borderline unwatchable.
Yeah, I think a rematch of some sort with Sabrina and Steph would be what the people want, and they've already talked about it themselves of how they will push it forward going forward. When we look at the rest of the season, though, the NBA resumes play on Thursday, so we have a few days till we get to that. But in the meantime, what's the top storyline that you'll be following as we get into the second half of the season?
Yeah, what I'm really watching here is those four teams at the top of the Western Conference: the Nuggets, the Thunder, the Timberwolves, and the Clippers. If you look at the East, Boston has run away with the #1 seed. They're the very clear favorite in the East. We haven't had one team do that in the West. I think we expected the Nuggets to be that team. They quietly lost 3 in a row right before the break. They haven't really been playing at full effort all so far this season. I want to see which of these teams really grabs the West by the horns and takes control. Not only is home court advantage very important, none of these teams have lost more than 6 home games all year, but matchups really matter here as well. I mean, look at the standings. Phoenix is number 5. If the top 4 teams in the West are only separated by a few games, we might have a few games being the difference between playing a play-in team and playing against Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. So those are the 4 teams that I'm really watching. I want to see a favorite emerge in the West. We haven't seen that happen yet. I bet it'll happen over the next couple of weeks and months.
And then even at the bottom of the West, it's going to be fun seeing if the Warriors and Lakers can make a second half surge to get out of the play-in territory. So a lot of things to monitor and to follow as we get to the second half. Sam Quinn, we know you'll be on top of it every step of the way. Thank you so much. And as we get through those steps, it is still the Celtics who are the favorite to hoist up that Larry O.B. at the end of the season, sitting at plus 260, followed by the defending champion in the Nuggets at plus 440. The Timberwolves, who lead the West, sitting there on the right side of your screen with odds at 24-1 to win it all.